more importantly, because you don't have the puck all the time, is what do I do without the puck? So if I'm a fast, skilled goal scoring centerman, where do I go without the puck? So if it's in my zone, like what am I doing? Am I out high waiting for a opportunity for a loose puck, or am I coming down low to help my D? And I'm like a defensive player. Well, you need to be doing that side, but why is he there, and where do they go without the puck? Neutral zone, where is he going without the puck? And just kind of follow these guys and see how the game comes to them, or how they make the game happen.
Yeah.
Right. Or how they have success, and then try to implement what you see, and try pulling things from their game, and keep watching them, and you'll see tendencies,
Yep.
and that's really important. The other thing, I'll just finish off a little bit.
Yep.
Another thing is watch what that particular team does. So that's why it's important to probably have a few guys that you feel like you play like, and because you could be playing, like, for example, in the OHL, you have teams like London and Saginaw, that they're a real puck possession team. They're really highly skilled puck possession team. So rarely do you see the Saginaw Spirit dump a puck. Like, it's very, very rare. So if you take that and you go against the Guelph Storm is a little bit, there's puck possession, but you'll see them dump that puck in a lot more. So that quick skating skilled guy might have a different look to him.
That's right. How does he fit in that system? Right.
But that's a system thing, so you got to kind of understand that
right.
a little bit too. But as you watch the game, you'll not as a fan, but as a student, then the puzzles kind of get put together, and it makes itself kind of clear how things are happening. So that makes a little bit more sense. So
yeah, so I got a lot on that.
Okay,
that was good. So the first thing I just want to go back, and because you're saying watching like a fan, and I just want to talk about a little bit more specifically about what that means, because that's if you're not a hockey person, you might not understand what that means. So, and as kids, you might not know what that means. So when you're talking about watching as a fan, what that means specifically is you're basically just watching the puck. You're just watching the flow of where the puck goes, right? So, and I'm not saying that every single time I watch a hockey game, I'm critically watching. Like, sometimes I do just watch as a fan. Watch the flow of the puck. Where there's the puck going, who has it, and your eyes are just fixated on where the puck goes.
Yeah.
That's watching as a fan. So when you're a player and you're trying to use watching hockey as a tool, then that's not using it as a tool, because it's too fast and you'll get overwhelmed by how fast things are moving. You can't pick things out if you just watch the puck with no purpose behind it. So that was the first thing. That's the first difference when you're talking about watching as a fan versus watching as a player to use it as a tool to get better. So what you want to try to do when you're watching, which all those examples that you just gave are they're examples of how to do this. You want to get as specific as you can with what you're watching for. So even if you're watching, let's say somebody takes your advice and they really like Connor McDavid, and they go, okay, I'm just going to watch Connor McDavid. So no matter what happens, wherever the puck is, their eyes are just stuck on Connor McDavid. Well, that's better than just watching only the puck, but it's still hard to pull things out of what he's doing in his game if you don't have an intention behind watching him.
Yeah.
So if you're just blankly watching him, and you're not asking the question of what's he doing in the D zone, what's he doing in the O zone, or what does he have when or what is he doing when he has the puck, then you're still it's still too fast. It's too much. You need to have a specific question you're trying to answer when you're watching. So that's another differentiation I want to make. So if you're going to try to watch specific things, then another piece of advice I would give along the lines that you normally give is when you're trying to develop yourself as a player, something you always say is pick 3 things you can do and do well.
Yeah.
So when you're watching hockey, you can do the same thing. Pick 1 to 3 things that you're going to watch for. So all those examples you just gave, if you go to watch a hockey game and you say, okay, I'm going to watch for all these examples Coach Andy just gave, it's too many things. You can't keep up with it. Yeah. So pick 1, 2, 3 things that you're going to watch this game for, and just focus on those 3 things so that your brain doesn't get scrambled eggs trying to follow everything, because there's too many things to follow. Yeah.
Right? Well, so you're just going back to what I said about scouting.
Yep.
It's like, I gave a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But you go to scouting. You might go to a game, and you just might get, you might be just watching the D on X team,
right?
And particularly 1 or 2 guys. So you can kind of watch take the foot off the gas, and then when they come out, you can watch again.
Mhm.
And that just keeps it simple. You're still gonna get what you need out of that game.
Yeah.
But as a player, it's the same thing. It might be just okay. I'm gonna watch all entries. How do they enter the puck?
Exactly.
All game. Okay, well, and there's a tendency there. So
Right. So
that's good.
and then that's
simplify.
my second. Yeah, you want to narrow the scope as much as you can.
Yeah.
But to my second point was going to be just that you also don't have to watch just players. Like you're saying at the end, there can be system things you need to look out
Yeah.
for, or there can just be like entries, like you just said,
Yeah.
that you watch out for.
Yeah.
Right.
Could be
Or
another really good thing. Just watch back checks.
yeah, that's
a really
perfect,
good
right?
thing because
And
without a puck, just watch. Do they take a guy to the net, or they go to the middle? Like just little things
Yeah.
like that.
especially if you don't know exactly who you play like,
Yeah.
because for some of these kids that are when you're 14, 15, 16, you might not know who you play like. And actually most kids don't, because when they come in here and we say, who do you think you play
Yeah.
like? Most kids don't have a good answer,
Right.
right? They don't know who they play like.
Yeah.
So that's
Well,
one thing.
and so this goes to that point though. A lot of kids these days don't watch actual hockey games. They watch highlights. So they'll see
That's right.
Connor McDavid, McKinnon,
Yeah,
Cale Makar,
that's right.
guys are on the highlights all the time, and they don't actually understand the game. They just see highlights. So
Yeah, and hockey's not highlights.
no,
The highlights are highlights.
Yeah.
They're not the
Yeah.
rest of the game, right?
Yeah.
So that's another point. So another thing you could look for too, and this was actually something that I remember you and Welly talking about last summer. You were saying, or he was talking about his approach to coaching, and he was talking about the idea of keeping everything within the dots, which obviously makes sense.
Yeah.
But if there's a specific quality you're looking for to develop in yourself, so easy one, let's say you want to score more goals, for example. Pay attention to where the goals are scored.
Yeah.
Where the puck's coming from.
Yep.
So if you're a forward, where do most of the goals in the game come from? You know, so if they're all coming from the trapezoid area, everyone talks about the house, you know, from the crease out to the dots and
Yep.
up or whatever, to the hash marks. If that is where most of the goals are scored, which they actually are, that ends up being that little half moon area
Yep.
from dot to dot in front of the net.
Yeah, it starts to, as it goes out, when they do the shot trackers, it just starts to trickle out a
Right.
little bit.
Yeah, you can see that. And
funnels into
actually,
the net.
that's a good point too, tracking where the shots come
Yeah.
from, because the shots are an indication of where the
Yeah.
goals are going to come from.
Yeah.
But watch that.
Yeah.
So if you say, wow, I actually never get to that area on the ice,
Yeah.
well, that's probably a good
Yeah.
lesson to take. If I'm never in the area where most goals are scored in hockey, then
That's
I'm going to
right.
get less goals. And if it's not goals, if it's something more complicated, where do most of the hits happen?
Yeah.
And if I'm just making this up,
Yeah.
if most of the hits happen in the corners
Yeah.
in the offensive zone, then you better get on your horse and make sure you're forechecking if
Yeah.
you're a guy that likes to hit.
Yeah.
And you're just like, man, I feel like I'm always trying to go for the big hit, open ice, but I don't really get 5, 6, 7 hits a game. It's like, well, maybe you're not going into the corners to where the hits happen.
Yeah.
That's where the hits happen, you know? So there's a lot of different pieces that you can look for. And this is why I wanted to answer this question on the podcast, because
Yeah.
it's very, it depends, as I always say,
Yeah.
right? It's like,
Yeah.
depends on what kind of player you are, what you're looking for,
Yeah.
what kind of role you play, all those types of things.
Yeah.
But hopefully that's helpful for the
Yeah.
kid that asked the question, because it was something I actually did more than I would say most kids. Like I would watch with purpose.
Yeah.
But I probably would do watch one guy and just follow him around without really having a question I'm trying to answer.
Yeah.
So that would be my leaving piece of advice. If there's have a question in your head that you're trying to answer when you watch, instead of just surface watch or just follow a player around, that's probably a better strategy for that. Hopefully that's helpful. And then if you have a more specific direction you want to go with that for the kid asking the question than anybody else, if you have a way to specify further, then we'll be able to give more specific advice on what you should look for in your circumstance.